Hello, guys. So, welcome to. You probably know I've probably done many interviews, and I've interviewed many different people from different backgrounds and so forth. And it's good to have Genevieve. She's telling us all about entrepreneurship, what's going on with the post-pandemic situation from Corona to now. And I think this is kind of like an itching topic to find out where are we heading to in this field of the world. I think it's a little bit frothy. I think my audience deserve to know, and I think it's going to make a great interview to get Geneva. Is that how you pronounce it?
Genevieve. Genevieve.
Genevieve. Okay, no, great. So Genevieve, to tell us a little bit about entrepreneurship in this field. I know Genevieve has a lot of credentials in this space. She's probably well known and the best person to ask. So I think this is going to make a great interview for those that want to tune in. Genevieve, great to have you. So tell me a little bit about yourself.
Oh, thank you very much for having me, Nazareth. I am actually, I'm currently the founder and CEO of AgriLedger, which is a blockchain company, which is
Okay.
delivering the solution to smallholder farmers to enable them to retain ownership of their
Right.
produce all the way to the foreign market. But before that, I actually spent 25 years in banking, working for the largest organizations in the world, such as GE, Hewlett Packard, and Chase Manhattan Bank, and also RBS. So
Right.
I went from being into those companies to starting entrepreneurship. And I would love to
And
tell
that's the
your
topic.
audience. Yes, exactly. Um, I actually started realizing that for many years, I was the entrepreneur in the organization. So I was the one who went on the limb with the crazy ideas of how we could do things. I think today, however, um, this whole idea of each individual being responsible for themselves and going with their ideas is becoming validated. There's a lot, mostly in the UK, you have a lot of grants to start, and you are able to take your idea to fruition. And this whole concept of exiting later is also there. So the only challenge is that you don't have a regular income. I have to say I missed the regular income from
Yes,
being in the
very
corporate
true.
world, but you also do not have all the uh, checks and balances that you need to do with people, making sure that you convince everyone that this is the best thing to do.
So we're going to tackle some questions. I rather focus on the topic of entrepreneurship, especially from where we've come from lockdown to now. So there's a few questions I like to ask, and it kind of be like a short way to tune in the audience, let them get into the groove. What is going on? I feel like we're coming from a frothy part of the world to where we are now, and I'm trying to get my mind around it. Where do you see entrepreneurship heading now after the post-pandemic world, Geneva? Where do you see the outlines? Yeah.
So we saw, if we look at the UK, there has been a lot of new companies started. So in the UK, it's very easy to register a new company and
Hmm.
start trading. So we have seen an explosion of that. There's also been an explosion on the amount of people applying for different grants. So where they would normally get maybe 100 application, they're getting 10,000. Now, what that was helped with was the fact that with the furlough, people were being paid to not work at their normal job. And that didn't stop them from thinking. And so, what we will see, and it's already becoming a problem, a lot of companies,
Right.
their workers do not want to come back. It's like you gave me an ability to make, to basically, I was paid to incubate. And so this is where there is a lot of opportunity. But prior to the pandemic, I was actually
Right.
talking about this new concept that you're not going to have 1,000 or 10,000 people companies, but actually smaller companies where people are providing a service. So this is great for an entrepreneur because you become a service provider. You work in a big organization
Hmm.
because the organization is made of many small groups. So that is the opportunity. Now we have, with the pandemic, we've gone to a world where you may never meet the person
Yes.
in person, in reality, in
Yeah.
a face to face, but you do get to talk to them on Zoom or Teams or whichever. So we've started accepting this new way of working, which means that as an entrepreneur, you can become even a digital nomad, live wherever you want, and never actually have to be in a physical setting with the individuals that you're working with.
I think that's very true. I think, you know, the government was urging people to get back to the office, but almost there was a statistic out. I can't remember on top of my head. Not many are actually wanting to go back to the office. They want to be working for themselves now or working at home.
70%.
Wow, that's
Over
a big number.
70%.
Yes.
Because let's say, so the US situation versus the UK situation are very different. I've been looking at both of them. In
Hmm.
the UK, people used to travel an hour and a half by public transportation to get to the office. And that meant 3 hours of their day gone. And
Yes.
now they're able to actually work
Which is
from,
productivity, right? You're losing productivity through traveling. Yes.
I think it's even more than productivity. You're no longer getting annoyed with the person who's pushing you in the tube.
In the
You're no
train.
longer like a sardine
True.
and
Yeah.
having to smell somebody's armpit that you don't really know. So all
Yeah.
those things
Yeah.
are, and also it's given people an ability to really connect with their family. So I think people want to have spaces where it's outside of home to be able to go to work, but they don't want to do those big commute. And what's going to happen is if many of those companies push, individuals are going to leave and they're going to set up their own company. And that is
The way
something,
it is.
it's the way it is. And the market drives this. Entrepreneurship has exploded because there are angel, there are people who are looking for that next big Facebook, uh, Twitter, all of those companies which were nothing. So your people are willing to bet on an idea. And
Right.
now that means that as an entrepreneur, you have the ability, and there is so much information in terms of how to do it. I think that the key thing that people have to remember is that when you work for somebody, you can turn off. When you
And
work for yourself, it's 24/7.
true. And you can work on your own times and chores as well, which is giving a lot of people that value. So where do you see, you know, the common skills? Let's talk about what, to our viewers, what skills is today in this prevalent society? What do we need in today's society to prevail, sort of thing?
You actually do need communication.
Okay.
So I think that there is a view sometimes that LinkedIn is a selling tool. I think it's a connecting tool. And at the end of the day, we all want communication. And so if you're going to be successful, you also need to be very
True. Mhm.
careful about how and what you write, because you're creating a public image. Your internal image may be different, but also to get people to you and to create that leadership. And so that it may not be the person who actually saw you is the one hiring you, but someone asks a question and then you're creating that dialogue. So
Yes.
what's important, what I think is absolutely missing many times with entrepreneurs is the dialogue. And you have to realize that the dialogue does not need to be, like you hate when somebody's trying, like you go to Turkey and somebody's trying to sell you a carpet and you're like, I don't want the carpet. But if they actually had the carpets and you come in and you look at it, you then have you don't have the pressure of buying. So I think people need to sort of create their narrative, create your
Yes.
story, and then let it be known. But don't try the hard sell, because hard sells usually don't work. People get
Never
turned off
works.
by
Yeah, and I think communication is something that is lagging for some people, especially the introverts and people who are shy. They're finding it very difficult, especially with youngsters of today. And I feel more and more people need to communicate well with the audience and so forth. Yeah.
So there is that communication I have for the youth today. Is they
Right.
think everything can be done via a chatbot, and they don't make the so yes, you can communicate, you can create that that aura of what you are about and what are your message, but you also need to learn when to pick up the phone. And then the other thing is you should learn to be successful as an entrepreneur. You need to have empathy. So you need to understand what is your customer uh, doing and
One.
actually walk in their shoes.
Yes.
So, and that's what I find that people are forgetting, because it's so easy for us to get on
I,
WhatsApp.
I think it's
Uh,
like a click. You need to click with someone, and it's like going for dinner and
it's,
clicking with that person, or it's building a kind sort of relationship with people, I feel, rather than just thinking, I want to make money. I think that comes when you build good relationships with people. Yeah.
where we're lucky is now today you can create those relationships online.
Yes.
However, I will say to you that at some point you should plan to meet that person, unless they're living on, like it's like PayPal, pen pals. I don't, and some of you may be too young to remember that, but I had a pen pal which I was exchanging letters with.
Those are
Nowadays,
the
you
old days.
have,
So let me go
but
on to the next. Let me go on to the next question, Geneva. So where do you see startups now? I mean, a lot of it's said up to 90% of startups fail in the first 6 months. What can we learn from this moving ahead? Is it a big risk of being an entrepreneur, or do you think the risk is lowered?
no, I think the risk is high
Okay.
because you need financing. So what we will have seen in the past is many of the entrepreneurs, such as, let's say, Bill Gates. I think Bill Gates was an entrepreneur, but he got funded by his family. So nowadays we have a lot more people coming into the space who don't have a family which is
True.
bankrolling them. So you
Yes.
need to make sure you
Very true.
understand your financial situation. And that's why you see a lot of failure, because people think they can go at it, and after 6 months, it's not working and they walk away. And I don't blame them for walking away, but sometimes that means that you're dying with a
Yes.
big idea. So, what people should be looking at is, can I go into this full time, or can I do this as part of my um, side hustle? And then taking your side hustle and then making it to where it is your hustle. So for
Yes.
me, the first couple of years, I continued to work because I needed to have money to pay into the business. And so that's what people you need to think about. The other challenge I have is a lot of people go, oh, I'm going to get investment. Well, you're diluting your idea and you're not even thinking about how, because what happens is somebody putting money into your company means they get to tell you how and what. So you need to make sure you have bedded down your idea, you know what you're
True.
doing before you go for investment. And then the other thing is that everybody talks about an exit nowadays. In reality, when somebody, I consider a shopkeeper an entrepreneur. It is entrepreneurial. They start their own thing and then they sell, and they continue to do that. They never have this idea of, I'm going to sell out to somebody else. So you should, it's not to say that's not something to think about, but you should make it to where you have a full solution, and that you never know that person is never going to walk in. I,
I get the
so
idea. I get the idea that some people, they lack that success. They fall apart within the first few months, and that's why those stats are quite high. Is that they don't get the funding or the connections, and I do pity those people because they have a great idea, but sometimes it might not go into fruition because of the connections. Like, such as if you take, for instance, Bill Gates, he has all the great people around him, all the great scientists, all the great technologists. But when someone's coming from, say, a different background, they don't have that connection. I'm sure my viewers would probably agree with this. I mean, they're probably listening to this now, but I think having a good base and good good set of people around you is important, I think. Yeah.
It is absolutely important. And I think that I believe, I was actually reading an article this morning, uh, and it wasn't related to entrepreneurship, but it's the same thing. It was about having expense accounts with your company. And
Yes.
the young people who do not have, they're asked to use their own credit card instead of the company credit card. And also, many a time, the company credit card, it's your liability. So if you spend on it, that's you who has
Yeah,
to
that's
pay at the
your,
end, not the company. And what happens is that some parts of the society do not have the money to actually pay for this, which means
true.
they were saying that people go without eating. There was one guy which was interviewed, and he said, when I travel for business, I
Wow.
don't have money. Because my credit card is being tied up with the hotel, so therefore I have no money to eat. And
That's why some people don't make it. I mean, in that sense.
exactly. And that's the problem in terms of entrepreneurship. You tie in everything into something else, and then you don't have the ability to actually continue. And so you shut down because you don't have that ability. But I think that it's also, you were talking about success. People aim really high. You should create for yourself
A
steps.
base.
So
Mm.
a base, and also a step and a plan. Because what happens is that a lot of people say, I want to go from here to over there, but don't have a 90-day plan. So I think
Very
every
true.
entrepreneur should have a one pager, which is, what do I want to do in the next 90 days? What do I need to be able to do that? And then also, it could be you only need resources, it could be you need money. And it is very important. I mean, as a finance person,
Very true.
I always say, understand what your finance are and be able to balance, because there's going to be a lot of people who come in and say they can help you with something, and it's going to cost you much more than you need. So if you're trying to do something with technology, talk to your mates. Because yes, we talk about that network doesn't
Yes.
happen, but we all went to school. We all have had, the opportunity to meet people in our lives. And if you have an idea and you need technology and you're not a technologist, talk to your friends.
Hmm.
Somebody might know someone who's there, and you get a favor there. Or also, we're getting lucky now, there's a lot of zero code. So make the time to do that, which means start learning how not to sleep.
Yeah, you
So
can learn. Yeah.
how to scrounge the pennies, as they say, take those pennies and
I
make
think
them.
I think finance is a very big aspect, and I'm sure my viewers would agree. If you don't have the monetary backing, and unfortunately, in this world today, especially in a frothy society where we are now, I feel finance can really lack for some people who've got that vision and that idea, and they borrow, or they take grants out, but that vision and idea never turns into fruition because of many different other factors, that micro factors that come into play, whether that's your bills, you've got to put bread on the table, you've got to support your family or support your health, and mental health plays a part in all that, and a lot of people kind of just break down, and we're kind of living in a world where mental health is quite high now, especially for in a technology evolution that's going on with what's going on with the technology we have. Our mobile phone takes so much of our time that I see people in the gym or going out for a commute, or they can't stop looking at their phone, and it's like, well, that phone is actually controlling you, and I think you lose your vision, and people start to then just move away and take it more as a social aspect rather than a business. But I'm
Yeah,
talking for youngsters here, not mainly business professionals, but the professionals that are watching this probably would agree that technology does take that attention away, and finance is a big part of that. Yeah.
no, I think that also, the idea of the finance is, there's a lot that can be done for $0. Also, being able to
True.
understand where you can get those resources.
Yes.
You start with free email. You start with uh, systems. Like Asana is a great way of doing. Asana is for your project management
Yes,
because
that's important. That's important. But I'm talking about maybe paying yourself. That's where ability to get your clients and finance yourself like that rather than taking on debt. Because I think there are a lot of free tools out there, but I think money also plays an aspect where a lot of people
oh,
can't support themselves. Yeah.
no, absolutely, and that's why I also think that you need before where there's been lucky in both the U.S. and the U.K. is that the government was providing those payments, which allowed you
Right.
to actually have the nest egg, or at least the living aspect, to be able to do what you need to do. So you didn't have to worry about putting food on the table, but continuing that journey is very important, and having
Very true. Hmm.
that buffer that allows you to continue. But I will actually say project management of your own little project so that you don't slip on anything is also very important, because if you slip, that's when you also fail. And do not set the goal for yourself to be so high that you can't attain it, but break it down as to the steps that are coming in. And also, and what I think is also, an entrepreneur does not mean that you have a new idea. It means that you're going to get an idea that already exists better, or you're going to be providing, because you can be your own product as an entrepreneur.
Right.
You provide
Right.
your skill set to someone else, and you augment that person's organization.
That's very, very interesting. I mean, I hope my viewers find this information valuable, and we can't wait to post it because I think people need to hear this. And I feel once we get this out, there'll be a lot of replies and comments coming left, right, and center because we're all working from home now. So that's where I think this entrepreneurship is starting to become more and more validated than the work office life. Would you agree?
Absolutely agree. Because you no longer you have the time. So if you think about it, if you're working from home, and I was talking about this, those 3 hours that you used to commute, you got 3 hours to put in your company. You maybe need only 4 hours. So figure 3 hours of your commute, one more hour at night, and you're done. So you continue to have your side hustle. And as such, you can progress. And one of the things that we didn't talk about is that you should also look as to ways to um I would say outsource your
Okay.
own thing. So
Okay.
what it is that don't
You
expect
mean
that
the
you're going to
mundane
do
tasks that you do and
mundane tasks.
emails?
It's
Okay.
actually gotten very cheap to get a VA in the Philippines. You go through the
Right.
process, you get someone who's reading your email. You're talking about $5 to $10. There are companies, when you're going to the higher price, those are companies who hire and monitor the people for you,
Hmm.
and they actually test the people. So happy to share that. But I think
Yes.
it's very important, because if somebody's got to schedule, you can even have them do outgoing calls for you and really put your whole schedule together. And you then look that somebody is doing this, maybe you're paying $200 to $400 a week, and it's saving you time to then be doing the big thinking, writing the information that is needed. Also, those VAs can be used to do your social media posting. You obviously agree to it. And if people don't know, Airtable has a way where you can actually create your whole calendar for media posting,
Right.
social media, and have it automate. And Airtable is free. So
Uh,
it's really understanding those resources out there. And I think this is where we're so lucky. There is so many resources out there that allow us to be
True.
able to take advantage, so that it's no longer you can do things in 4 hours that you would
Right.
normally have needed 8 hours for.
That's great tips. I'm hoping my viewers found all this valuable information insightful. So my final question is where are we going in the next 6 months? Where do you see now we're moving from coronavirus, hopefully slowly in stages. Where do you see the world going? I mean, throw the whole thing in politics or Is it a political affair? Is it a social affair? What is going on, and where do you see it going?
It's a socio-economic affair.
Okay.
We are not going to have as many open borders. There's, like if we take Australia, Australia says they're not open until 2022.
Right.
You have other countries who are doing the same. And so that is, from many of those places, we're relying on tourist dollars. We see Vietnam. Vietnam just had their third outbreak and they're closing down till 2022. So now you start asking yourself, what is going to happen? And unfortunately, the social unrest is becoming greater and greater with time. People are frustrated. They feel that their civil liberties are being
taken away. Yeah.
Taken away, even though it's for their own good. People have been screaming and shouting about putting a mask. And it's, unfortunately, as individuals, we're very selfish. So I don't think we're completely out of the woods with COVID yet, which means that governments are again going to suppress. I'm hoping and praying that the UK does not shut down again, but the direction we're going, like let's say I live in Jersey, and we found out we've now have over 3,000 cases. We were at 0 a couple of weeks ago. Now we have 3,000 cases and one person has passed away, unfortunately. So you start going, what's going on? And then people are getting mad from being stuck at home. You have civil unrest everywhere. You've had the flare up in Gaza. You have things going on in the Caribbean. So all of that is making a lot of anger, but also there isn't a lot, like government have overspent
resources,
overspent the financial resources, and now we're going to be also taxed. That's one level.
Very true, through money printing, and it's not working. That's not working. I think you talk about 30, 40 years of this now, and it's repeating over and over again, and I've got alarm bells for that.
And the other bigger alarm bell is going to be businesses, because people are not going to want to go back. How are you going to hire people? You're going to have to give a higher rate. So let's say in the US, a lot of the places, the people don't want to go back. You treated them bad. You didn't pay them well. You made them clean shit. They don't want to do that anymore because they can do their own businesses at home. Everybody,
and save money on travel. Save money on.
So what happens in the US, a lot of the stores have gone up to $15 an hour. People will pay $7 an hour. So they double. And I'm expecting in the UK that a lot of people are going to want their workers to come back, and they're going to say no. But the other thing that I think is going to be very interesting is people, this is where government, I'm seeing a challenge. You live in one place, but you work for someone else. You work for another country. So you live in the UK and you work for Switzerland, or you live in Thailand and you work for the US. That is what we're going to start seeing. And people are going to say, you know what? Is it the job or is it my body that you need to see? You need the job done. So that is also going to create, so where companies are going to say, okay, fine, you're living in Thailand. This is the cost of living in Thailand. I'm not paying you 70,000. You're going to get 30,000. So that is also going to create a lot of negativeness. And I think we're about to hear a lot of turmoil. By September, I think the earth will be rumbling, as they say.
Right. And I think cost of living also plays a part in that. These days, digital nomads are starting to move now because of expensive costs in the UK and the US. That's a whole nother topic for another time, but great to have you, Genevieve. We really appreciate your responses and so forth, learning about entrepreneurship, where we're going with it, and I'm sure the viewers are going to find it very interesting. Is there any final touches you'd like to add?
I would like to say that it is rewarding, however, to be able to not only,
if you make it. Well,
Well, if you make it, but you can make it. It's like walking. When you're a
Mm.
kid and you're learning how to walk, you start the baby, you see it tentatively coming and sometimes it falls. If you fall and you sit on your ass and you don't try to move again,
You
you'll
won't do
stay there.
nothing.
You
Yeah.
won't do anything. But actually, it's really the effort in taking that step. You are going to hurt yourself along the way. It's not always going to be rosy. There are going to be days when you're going to wake up and say, I just want this to end. But then you will see how your customers react, the recognition that you're getting, and all those things will make it very much worth it. And if you
Yeah.
build a great company, you then will get the exit that you need. But don't go in it for
And go
money.
too deep inside. Yeah.
Do it for your passion. Make sure that whatever you do, you're passionate about, and that will allow you then to succeed.
Great. Thank you very much for your time. And I'm really looking forward to the comments, actually, seeing what sort of responses we get with your social network as well, and minds. And maybe in the future we can also collaborate and do another one of these as well.
I would love to.
Okay, great stuff. That's a privilege. So that's a wrap. And I hope my viewers found this interesting to know what's going on. And there's a lot of tips there. Do reach out to Genevieve and myself, and I'm sure we'll get the comments rolling and so forth. So thanks for your time, Genevieve. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye.